dust is yet the tax levied on transfers on mobile money. With commodities in the prices of basic commodities in our markets, what is actually happening and how are these prices being increased? Is there an organ that is supposed to be regulating and controlling how this is done? Are prices only increasing for imported or home-produced goods? We are looking at these two topics this evening. We're glad to have you with us this evening for another edition of Prime Good Evening. We are discussing this with panelists who are here already seated with us. Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa is our permanent consultant. Good evening, Apostle, and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo. Good evening, Cameroonians. Welcome to Prime Hour. It's another day again God has created for us to rejoice and be glad in it. We appreciate you for staying glued to your screen, your contributions, your questions, and helping us grow as a media. God bless you in Jesus' name.
Derick is also in the house with us. He is a member of the Cameroon Civil Society, very active for that. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Leo, and Happy New Year. It's 2022, and we are always glad to be. I want to say Happy New Year to the
very important debate, which is a call for concern to all Cameroonians. Special greetings to all the UPC members scattered around the continent, the globe. As we all know, the UPC is one of the oldest parties in Cameroon. It's 61 years old. Though many people have been complaining that the UPC is a divided party, it's just for me to call out opinion, the general opinion of all Cameroonians, to tell them that UPC is a united party. You know, in every party we have people we call infiltrators. They that come with their different agendas to destroy the good work that Umyobe has implanted since ages. So as the spokesperson of the party and the national youth leader, I want to reaffirm that the UPC, it's a party that is working for, you know, the good for all Cameroonians and not an ally to the party on power. Equally, I wanted to greet all the Cameroonian diaspora because our president, President Paul Biya, has been bringing us slogans every day, as we always have. He said, Emergence 2035, sorry. So I just wanted to ask a question to the president because I know he's listening right now. I wanted to ask him if the emergence he's preaching 2035 will be effective without our diaspora, because we all know that the diaspora is a force. It's a very, very important, a primordial force for the 2035 emergence, which he preaches every day, for it to be effective. So I call upon the National Assembly that has the primordial role to vote laws, to control all governmental actions, and, you know, to speak for the people, that they should try and review the law on dual nationality, which is the 11th of June 1968. It is very important. Thank you.
Okay, President Paul Biya today has signed a decree setting up 3 state universities in Cameroon, matching water with action. He actually promised the creation of these universities. The decree has been signed this evening. That was during his address to the nation at the close of 2021. Good move already, Apostle Ambe Valentine Ngwa. Do we also expect to see him do those other points that were raised during this address?
Yes, Mr. Leo. Marching words with action for what he said on the 31st of December 2021, that's going to create 3 universities in the east, the north, and the south. And he has signed a decree to that effect. Is a good initiative, and we appreciate and applaud it. When something is good, we appreciate it. When it is bad, we condemn it. My problem is all these universities, where are the graduates going to? All these universities, what do we produce out of the universities? All these universities, where is a job to give them? When people become educated and enlightened, they become a problem. An ignorant man will never have problem. Educated people are the poor will cause more problem, because the more you get educated, the more you get annoyed. And that's the reason why the flames we have in the country, because a lot of people are educated and they are not seeing things working for them based on their educational capacity. So while we applaud the idea of opening universities in the east, the north, and the south, we equally say that good measures should be put in place that who are eating very delicious meals, live in air-conditioned rooms, more than even people who are walking the streets. That's not imprisonment. So we should do everything possible to recover funds stolen, not putting people in prison and leaving funds in their huge bank accounts in and out of the country.
Okay, but dust is yet to settle about this tax issue on mobile money transfers to all agencies, not only for MTN or Orange. Almost everybody, Campus is also involved, Express Union, and a host of others. How do we understand this? Is it the fact that government needs much money, or the fact that the citizens would need to assist government to raise the amounts that is required to provide that development that they expect from the government?
Well, Mr. Leo, increasing mobile money tax and all money transfer agencies, increasing their tax like Express Union, Express Exchange, Western Union, Campus, and the rest, to me, is a sign of defeat. The government seems to be defeated. They are unable to generate income through other means. It is true that taxes is one of the ways through which money is raised in a country, but I will go with this biblical scripture that says, "Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that tread the corn." The people who are treading the corn are the workers. The people who are laboring day and night are the people in the streets who do businesses and do other means to earn a means of livelihood. But unfortunately, the people who are working in all these institutions are being muzzled by the government. You don't explain that somebody is saving money in his wallet and he's been asked to pay taxes for saving money in your wallet. You give out money, you pay tax. You take in money, you pay tax. The services that the mobile companies are rendering, they equally collect taxes from you. That makes the ordinary person who does not have a bank account to do bank-to-bank transfer, who doesn't have checks to pay bills through check, to suffer, because this mobile money is a means through which the ordinary person can be able to do money transfer. So I think the government in the first place is defeated mentally because they don't have initiative ideas to generate income. They shouldn't look taxes as the only way through which they can generate income. Taxes have frustrated most countries when the taxes rise in countries. Most countries have experienced bitter downturn on the economy when people are forced with taxes. And all these kind of taxes are things that frustrate the energy, the capacity, and the passion of people to do business, even engage into money transactions. So it's very frustrating. Very frustrating.
As you say, Derick, we have heard very little from consumer rights unions. We've not spoken enough on it. We are not hearing much from them.
Sad enough, it's sad to know that consumer protection, which is a right of the consumer, has really been neglected, because we understand that the consumers need to be protected and there is a unit for that. And it's sad to understand that it's quite degrading, and we are calling on those who are responsible for consumer protection, the consumer right, consumerism, to stand up. It's too much for people to pay tax at every transaction. We were told that taxes are paid on the principal, but unfortunately this one is a tax that is paid all the chain of the transaction. Meaning that, Mr. Leo, if I have 1,000 francs in my mobile money account and I have to transfer the 1,000 francs to Apostle Ambe, I will actually have to transfer back 900 or 899 francs, given that 51 francs will be deducted plus tax. And the moment Mr. Apostle Ambe has to pay another person through mobile money, that is how that money is deduced. Till the moment it gets to the 19th person, the government has withdrawn all that 1,000 francs in circulation. That is very, very dangerous for the economy. And we also think that it is not like the money we keep in our mobile money yields some interest.
Yeah.
The mobile money is like a wallet. How do you understand that you go to the bank during month end and you are paid. You receive your money from the bank. You know that the income you receive is either you consume, you save, or you invest.
Yes.
You decide to keep your money in your mobile money wallet. Just for you to want to pay somebody, you go to the buy and seller, you buy tomato, you want to pay through mobile money, you pay tax. Then if the buy and seller wants to reimburse your money, he has to pay tax. It's really appalling, and we are calling on those who are responsible for the protection of of consumers to rise up and do something, because this tax is not only regressive in nature, it is a calculated criminal act catalyzed by MTN company.
Okay. Mr. Leo, we do not need more universities in Cameroon. What we need is job creation. We are tired of hypocrisy and coward move to run away from the crux of the crux of the matter. My name is Mbugbo Nana Jean Tiku. Nadieh, the UPC has not made an official statement towards this tax increment, the population.
Telephonic, electronic, or telex, transaction of money. But when we look at this law, it is very, very, very disturbing, because, when we look at the way any monetary transaction in Cameroon is being implemented, we already have the VAT, which is the value added tax, that has already been implemented. So it means that Cameroonians are paying now a triple tax on, on the same money. Because actually, Mr. Kum, if I'm able to send 20,000 francs, I pay a tax when I send the money. Okay, when the person is collecting the money, or I still want to remove the money from my wallet because it's like a place I kept my money, that doesn't yield any interest. So when I'm removing the money, I am still paying tax. That is already a dual tax. Then talking about the VAT, which is the value added tax, it is a triple tax implemented on poor Cameroonians. You know, the Cameroonian government is a failed government for me, because they will always look for ways, to steal money from poor Cameroonians, because we do not have a problem of paying these taxes. The problem is this money that is being allocated on taxes. What is the money being used for? Because we know that Cameroon is a country that is implemented in how we can call state embezzlement. And with the way these transactions are ongoing, they tell you that these agencies, these money agencies will be able to collect the money, and between the 15th and the 25th of the month of the next month, they will carry the money to go and pay at the taxpayers, institutions, which can still be a way for people to have some kind of transaction with money, and the money can get missing. So this law has a lot of disadvantages, because it's very, very funny to see that we have a government that has spent over 10,000 billions just to organize the AFCON. They have spent a lot of billions just for the Anglophone crisis, spending money without giving, accounts for Cameroonians. They have allocated another budget for 2022 without telling us how much has been spent for the 2021, telling us how the money has been spent. But yet they keep implementing taxes that will better steal or better reduce the poor Cameroonians to a state of debt. When we look at countries like France, Mr. Kum, because I will always take example with France, because we cannot say Cameroon is independent. We are still living in a period called neocolonialism. We are still working with the dictate of France. France still tell us what to do. Now, when we look at France, the way they pay taxes, because when you live in France, you pay a lot of taxes. This money is used to be able to, to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor. They are mostly implicated into what we call socials. Like in France, school is free of charge. Elementary school and secondary school is free. Hospitals are free. But in Cameroon, they collect taxes for they themselves to put in their personal pockets without using the money judiciously for Cameroonians to know that I am paying this 2%. We cannot even say it's 2%, Mr. Kum, because it is 0.4%. Because when you send money, it is 2%. You remove the money, it is still 2%. So we are telling Cameroonians that it is not just 2%, but it is 4%. And it is a triple tax. The VAT, the value-added tax, with the double tax implicated on all monetary transactions. So it is very dangerous. Cameroonians are suffering. We needed them to tell us that.
Amazing discussions that you're having there. I hope you can hear me. Please, can you hear me? Just
yes,
for verification.
We're getting you 5 on 5. Your first reaction to what is happening, consumers' rights, them, what could be happening? Are they still observing to authenticate the veracity of the existence of this law?
Yes, I must say that it's an interesting thing, in an interesting time, at an interesting period, because you'd realize that we are living very interesting times. I must say, we have multiple crises, and this is coming up. But at first sight, I must say, it's you can look at the gross laziness I wouldn't look at it from the political perspective. I would look at it from it's actually bringing out something which is very important. You see, generally, there are tons of ways that we could process out without necessarily putting on stress or strain on the citizenship. We could provide services. Why don't we realize transportation is a problem? Why don't we provide a service and put a tax in it? Because when you provide a service and put a tax in it, the citizens would appreciate the service and they wouldn't even feel the tax. We have a lot of motorbike people all around the whole place. Maybe transportation is really a problem. Can we absorb these people on the streets who are riding motorcycles? Maybe set up a transit bus company in all our main cities where these motorcycle riders are. Can we do something else? Because now, these buses that we have, probably that have come for Can, after that, what are we going to use them for? So it's a question of management. It's a question of intellectual laziness, because it doesn't make sense that we've gotten to a point where a state expresses itself to this intellectual gutter level. I put it gutter level because it's unbelievable. High school children would think about a better way of taxing citizenship or citizens than going into their mobile money. It's just like we have our purse, and you stop on the way and tax us on the money that is in our purse. That's exactly what's going on here. So I have my purse in my suit or in my dress or in my trouser, and you stop me along the way. You ask me, how much is in your purse? And I tell you, I have 10,000. You say you pay a tax on that 10,000. That's what's going on. It makes no sense. It's intellectual laziness. It should tell you the kind of educational system we have. So we should begin to look at it from a bigger perspective, because these are civil servants who make proposals for some of these things to be passed on. So these civil servants may still be there, even if another government come into play. That's something we should note. These lazy civil servants will still be there. So it's a bigger problem than we can see. If we look at this from a political perspective, we may miss the point and we may allow the problem to last longer. But if we look at this from the perspective that these are civil servants who make proposals for some of these initiatives to be embarked upon by the government in place, then we would realize that we have a bigger problem than we think. These are the reasoning of our civil servants. This is the product of our educational system. So what are we going to do about it? Are we just going to say that we're going to give our employed in some of our ministries, which are considered as executive? Because our parliament is controlled by the executive. The executive imposes everything on our parliament. This is not rocket science. This is basic civic studies. If you study the civics of Cameroon, you will realize that the executive of the Cameroonian government is above all these things. So if the civil servants that are being listened to by the executive are cooking this kind of thing, it will go through the parliament. The opposition is powerless. It do nothing. We can only make noise on the streets. We can only go to the streets, and some of us will be arrested and then put into jail, given sentences, and that's it. So at this point in time, what we can say is, okay, if we want to look at this thing in a sustainable manner, then we should begin to realize that come on, there are some of us who are even talking. If we're given some of those responsibilities, we would be pressured to do those things. However, I think that it's actually coming from from the civil service, a lazy civil service, because I want to believe that a couple of months back we had a similar issue carrying around, and these phones were were brought into Cameroon across international borders. So it's basically the same thing. Those are lazy taxes, because there are systems, there are ways that states can tax people by providing them services and putting the tax in those services. That is the difficult way. But you see, if we begin to go straight into the pockets of the citizens, it means that what? It means that we have gotten so lazy that we cannot even do even the intellectual work or look at the way we can work together to do this. Because a tax like this is organized by a few people, but we cannot work together. It means that we have a nation that we cannot work together anymore. If the circle is increased just a little bit, it will not work. Okay. I think that is where we find ourselves. And this is something that should really educate us, that we should realize that we've come to a point where we have to begin to look at the possibilities of working together, where the laws or the policies do not come from above, but the policies come from below. We know that we are living in a nation of two systems in one. Anglo-Saxon system is not like this, but the other system is like this. So this is the blame we're bound to live with. So we just have to look for a way around it. But basically, what this means to us is that we are working with very lazy intellectual civil servants.
He describes it as those who made this proposal that are very, very lazy. How do you understand the fact that they are lazy? And who do we blame here? The civil servants who made this proposal, thinking that it will be very easy to just collect money from the accounts of persons. It's easy.
Know the very conditions of the people they are coming from. Some of them are selling their plantains to send their children to school. Others tap their palm wine to send their children to school. Others sell their red oil to send their palm oil to send their children to school. You are coming from those communities. You know how these people are suffering. You know the common man, what they are going through. Then you go into a parliament and sit down as a representative of those people, understanding their precarious situation and the kind of dilemma they're already going through. You sit down and they bring such a dilapidated, nonchalant law inside the parliament. You sit there as a representative of the constituency and that law is passing before your very eye. You don't stand with an objection and say this is not acceptable here. You allow the law go through and you turn around to blame civil servants. The civil servants are proposers. You are the ones who decide. You don't take a man that proposed and him that calls a shot and put them on the same balance on a kilo. He that calls a shot is him that is in the parliament. Now, secondly, this law is a war against innovation. And that is the reason why we are stuck to where we are trying to evolve, to advance, to go to a point whereby you can be safe with your money in your phone than carrying money in your bag. Armed robbers don't attack poor and collect phones anymore to draw money from it, because you will know the code. But they could attack vehicles in those days and attack vehicles and collect bags of money. This innovation of mobile money has even helped the common man to easily do transactions from one place to the other.
The common man who could not create an account.
They could use mobile money to operate. It has also facilitated trade. It has facilitated trade from one place to another. Somebody can easily send money through this my money stuff and you do exchange. You can even go somewhere without money in your pocket, money in your phone. You can buy in the electronic age. And then now they are attacking and bringing taxes on this thing. Do you know that the transaction of my money and orange and red has dropped since this tax came? Many people are backing out. How does it affect the economy? Even the VAT, they were benefiting from it. They are losing it. Now, Mama used to say, now over part out of it. People are ready to send money through relatives in envelopes to be transferred to the village than go to use mobile money again. If mobile money collapses, calculate the amount of value-added tax you were gaining before greed, egocentric nature, pushed you to add 0.2%. They used to say a hunter came from farm one day carrying an elephant, saw a grasshopper on the road. While struggling to catch the grasshopper, the elephant fell on the ground. This government should not go after grasshopper after carrying elephant on their head.
Okay, good evening to you, Banwi, Derick, and to you, Prince Wales, and Obase Tilili, Maximilian Max, Kimlis, Abdullahi, Petit Dangote, and to you, all of you watching us on our social media handle. Now, we are talking about this tax. Some people actually say their problem is not the tax per se, but actually understanding how this law, or it just went through.
How can it? Who should bring a law?
Because at times you have 30 days to go through very voluminous documents, and you may not really know what you're signing.
Yes, Mr.
Yeah?
Yes.
Because they have always raised this issue that they should be handling this thing maybe 15 days to going to parliament, so that they have time to even consult lawyers and understand. Yeah.
Of course, that is why they are the parliament. We are just saying here that the executive is controlling them, but in reality, it is the parliament that is supposed to decide
constitutionally
if the number of days given to them is not okay. They are the lawmakers. They should decide to say, give us this time, and it should be given to them. If lawmakers cannot make laws that favors them. Unfortunately, like we were saying, the question you asked about, are we crying on the fact that the tax is heavy, or on what the tax will be used for? An American scholar defines tax as the price we pay for living in a civilized society. I do so think that if we were living in a society that is civilized, like our council tax that we pay, that we say sanitation tax in the council, if the environment is clean, nobody will complain about it. But unfortunately, there is a system of collecting the tax, but we do not have the plan. Recently, it's even said that up till now, some councils have not even talked about budget. Mr. Leo, this tax is heavy on the local person. Like I told you, it's a regressive tax, and it is going to only increase the gap between the rich and the poor. Because the parliamentarians who voted this law, they have that money in their pockets to pay. Mind you that every sitting, they have huge sums of money in their pockets. And if we have to understand that, how can we pay tax on school fees, pay tax on food, pay tax on transport, and pay tax on basically everything? Mr. Leo, is not fair. And we should stand against it. Whether it is on the incidence of the tax, on the weight of the tax on the final consumer, or on the purpose of the tax, it is an unfair tax. It is a disguised criminal activity. It is a disguised way of theft.
Okay. Ba Akwen, you had something to add when I asked about the fact that maybe some MPs were not aware. And if they are aware, because almost everybody think that
on the 1st of January. So they cannot tell people that they were not aware, because, you know, for a law to be adopted, 3/4 of the congressmen or the MPs are supposed to accept. And if, yes, they are supposed to vote for those laws. And the Constitution tells us that if these people are not into consensus, the president has the ability to consult the Constitutional Council for this law to be adopted. So we haven't heard any noise at the National Assembly till date. It means that all of them sat and they accepted that this law should be implicated on the common man. Mr. Kum, looking at what is happening in Cameroon, we listen all to President Biya's speech. He spoke of, 80% of the fried maritime costs will be reduced. Mr. Kum, They are reducing taxes on people who have money and increasing taxes on people who do not have money. Mr. Kum, those that import things in Cameroon are rich people. I don't have the money to import rice in Cameroon. I do not have money to import maybe fish or all these things. But President Biya came out on the 31st of December 2021 on his traditional speech telling us that he will reduce 80% on the maritime freight on importation of goods in Cameroon. But he vividly accepted the taxes levied on the poor man, the common man who is suffering just to feed. We have all listened how prices have increased in the markets. We have listened to how, money is being spent. We spoke recently of the COVID gate. Money that was allocated to build a station and the stadium so that we could receive the AFCON was spent. People use the money without giving accountability. We also saw the audit room saying that 18 billion was missing.
Yeah, but the president promised Mr. to bring these guys.
He has been promising, like I previously said, we are living in a state where we have only slogans, grands ambitions, all those slogans, without things being effective on the ground.
3 state universities were promised.
It has been promised, Mr. Kum,
yeah.
because when you listen to the president's discourse, it was really vague. Nothing important to me. I grabbed nothing there. Yeah, he spoke of 3 universities. Do we know that there is a university in Boya, in Betwa? There is an annex in Betwa. They are just going to go there and just do some kind of work and tell us that billions has been spent to do these things. And Mr. Kum, it is very, very important for Cameroonians to know. It is very important. We spoke of the Olembe money that has been spent. Closely 55 billion has been spent. They spoke of a complex, Mr. Kum. But today we are just having a normal feel. These are the same things that President Biya came out on the 31st telling us that roads will have been built. 3 universities will be built in the north, in the east, and in the south. This money that will be used, they'll tell us of a very good university with all the facilities, and the money will be allocated. At the end of the day, we are not going to have the same money that has been allocated for the amenities that are supposed to be shown to Cameroonians. This is what we are talking about, Mr. Kum. Go to other states like France. Like I usually say, I will always use France as a model because Cameroon is still functioning under the colonization of France. We are not yet independent. Go to France. School is free of charge. Hospitals are free of charge. They pay taxes. A country is being taxed so that they will develop that country, so that their citizens will live very well without problems. But in Cameroon, they increase taxes and the money goes to their personal pockets. And to shock all Cameroonians listening now, Mr. Kum, the rich people do not pay taxes because this money that has been allocated on all money transactions in Cameroon will be paid by the poor. They collect the money, they go and sit in their rooms, they share the money, and they still means we pay their own taxes for them, Mr. Kum.
Okay.
It is very dangerous.
Good evening to you, Emmanuel Kumbang, watching from the Netherlands, Echobi Raymond watching from Germany, Nebache also watching, Anita Enot Takan watching from the US, Echange Flora. Good evening to you, Div Obi, Nebache, Ibi, Bryant, and Mo Hash. Good evening to you, Bibi Bryant, Elvis, and Zip Ashu, Ngale, Jamia, all watching on our WhatsApp, Facebook handle. She's actually very particular concerned about the development that has been brought to Cameroon this past year. Is that where the difficulty is, justifying why we are raising more taxes when on the ground it is very difficult to see developments being implemented, especially with the wave of embezzlement that is ongoing, though the President of the Republic is promising very bitter days for embezzlers in the days ahead.
Mr. Leo, is it today we started having embezzlers in this country? Is it COVID gate, the first month that was embezzled, or Lembe Stadium? We have lived in this country from 1982 when President Pobia became president till date. We have had series of embezzlers. Every year, every season, every moment, we keep on having ministers that embezzled huge sums of money in this country. All we get at the end of the day, they are being sent to Kondengi. No money is recovered, no is collected from them, and then after some time, some of them are released from the prison. How do you explain that we are in an economy where those who do not even have a means of livelihood are the ones they are draining taxes from to feed the people who are actually surviving the economy? It is a disgrace, and I still say it, and I will say it everywhere, that the level of education Cameroonians have and the kind of laws that are applied in this society, those things can only work where illiterates operate. That is the simple truth. I say the kind of minds we have in this country as educated people and the kinds of law that go through our parliament tells us that we are academically sound, but common sense we are dunces. Look at example, the case of Jimmy Carter in America some years back. What made him lost elections was because the price of gasoline increased. When fuel dropped in the world market, it didn't drop in Cameroon. We have economists, we have all kinds of technical people who have studied economy and banking. They sit down, prices of fuel drop in the world market. Cameroon's fuel did not drop. Our economy is still the same. What kicked Omar el-Bashir out of power? It was a rise of prices in basic commodities. As I'm talking to you right now, Joe Biden has had a meeting with all the farmers that have ranches in America, pleading with them to drop the price of beef and meat. That is a president who is working for the benefit of the masses. We are talking about an economy where people are barely surviving. The per capita income of Cameroonians is very low. The means of livelihood is very low. And in addition to that, when these taxes are collected, what are the things these taxes are being used to do in this country? What are the social amenities? Well, we cannot boast of reference hospitals in this country. We can't boast of good roads in this country. We are talking about university structures.
We have a reference hospital in Sangilima. There is one that was recently launched in Bafoussam.
Reference hospital in Sangmalima, launched in Bafoussam. You see, if we go to the archives of this country and we say the things that have been spoken, Cameroon should have been a failure by now. By virtue of the things spoken in this country, we are a first world country. We have an ultra-modern structure as an airport. It's in papers. We have autoroutes from Douala to Yaoundé. Is in papers. We have route number 1 and national routes all over the national territory. Is in papers. We have a seaport in Limbe. Is in papers. We have a reference invested in this so-called war, which is rocking the north and the southwest, because all these things is as a result of this war that has drained the economy to the extent where people now are being forced to bring water out of the rock. How much is peace that we are going to allow war, which is more expensive, to continue to reign?
Okay. Good evening to you, Teacher Bukle, and to you, Emma Song, Ngwen Jang, Dominique Zinka, Walter Defang, Shumu Mohammed, and you, Echobi Raymond, Asiseko Oscar, Echange Flora, and Fosu Aurelien, all watching on our Facebook handle. Good evening to all of you. We are going over to Yaoundé to get from you, Dr. Tata. Doctor seemingly is not there. We're going to take a very short break to come back and move on with the program.
Indomptable ou pas, tout le monde vient ici pour sacrer son roi. On pourrait en parler pendant des heures. Mais gagner la CAN, ça ne s'explique pas. Ça se vit.
Only Canal Plus brings you the heart of the African Cup of Nations. Right now, enjoy 15 days of free access. Offered all of Canal Plus at your resubscription.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are looking at this issue of the law on taxing mobile money transfer transactions, be they for Campos, be they for Express Union and other money transfer agencies operating in Cameroon. You
should understand that the war in the Anglophone region is ravaging this country, is bringing down this country to its knees. Boko Haram is not allowing things to go down low. And mind you that when you spend on war, it is not an income generating war. I have never seen an income generating war before. And the more you spend, you do not get back the money you want. You will try to squeeze your citizens to give more. And also mind you that the monies that we borrow from the international monetary the international monetary funds and international banks, the moment a country cannot meet up with their debts, you remember Cameroon had been declared a heavily indebted poor country. And it was not supposed to be so, because in the year 2000, Cameroon was on. You only go ahead to squeeze those who do not have. That becomes the pain. I think what is motivating these people to pass this law, to accept the law without stress, is that first, it doesn't concern them. Two, they will pay theirs without stress. And also, there is lack of money in the economy, and the government need to get money by hook or by crook to continue sponsoring the war in southern Cameroon and fighting against Boko Harams, and also for those who are embezzling our monies to swell their pockets.
Okay. The law has been considered by many Cameroonians we've reached out to as a law that is actually not good, not appreciated by the population. How do you hold those who pass this law accountable?
Well, Mr. Kum, I read an article on the Association of Taxpayers. You know, they denounce this taxation policy. And you know, this is a policy that is well calculated to steal Cameroonians the more. Because when we look at the policy, the law of finance of 2022 that spoke about this taxation, the Cameroon government tells us that over 12,150 billion has been made by both MTN and Orange with their transaction, and they said it is more than like tripling the Cameroon budget. It means they have calculated the money in people's pocket, and now they are trying to see the profit they are going to make. And they said over 25 billion to 30 billion will be taken if this taxes is really implicated or implemented. So it means that the Cameroon government is a government that is well calculated to always steal the poor citizens, because they have made all their statistics, their calculations and everything. They have come out with how much they can gain from these taxes, and they have already allocated it in their personal pockets. Looking at the president's, you know, the president's speech, he spoke about, because when I listened to our consultant when he spoke about, you know, the Cameroon economy that has not really been boosted for years. But when we listen to the president's speech, he spoke of the Cameroon's economic growth that has moved from 3.6% to 4.2% in 2022. That's what he said in his speech. He was projecting something that has not yet come to reality. Meaning we are working with a state where they always say slogans, les grandes ambitions. Emergence 2035, and now he has already projected the economic growth of something that has not yet existed.
Are you saying that in your church a prophecy was not said that this year was going to be better?
Mr. Kum, we are not trying to talk about metaphysics here. We are talking about reality, tangible things that can be felt and can be touched. We all know that the Cameroon government has been promising things that have never come to existence. They are these are things that all Cameroonians, even the most stupid Cameroonian, can be able to tell it plain and clear that we are living in a state where only slogans are being said, and the effectiveness is not really seen at the field. Like my co-panelists, the consultants spoke about stadium, they spoke about a complex. Today they have changed words to tell us it is a simple stadium. The universities can be built, yes, but they will not give us the university that has been written on papers. Things are written on papers and we see different things at the field. This is why the Cameroonians are really, really worried about these taxes. These taxes can be implicated, they can be implemented and adopted because it has already been adopted. We all have received messages from MTN, Orange, and other, money companies. They told us about the effectiveness of this law. But till date, Mr. Kum, what are we heading to? What are the mechanisms they have put in place for this money to be used? How will the money be allocated? Will it be used to reconstruct the Anglophone regions? Will it be used to reconstruct the northern regions where the Boko Haram and the inter-community crisis in the north? No! At the end of the day, this money will go into their pockets and they'll better fit and we will suffer. This is what Cameroonians are talking about, Mr. Kum. It is very dangerous. It is and it is a triple tax. I spoke about the VAT. I spoke about the 0.2% and the 0.2% receiving and removing. It is a triple tax levied on the same money. And when we look at the law on fiscality, the law on fiscality tells us that a transaction is not supposed to pay a dual tax. No. Because when I read a text that came out from, the Taxpayers Association, they said that the law of fiscality, or one of the principles, is that you cannot pay a dual tax on a transaction. It is not acceptable by the law. And I think that our judiciary in this country are supposed to take this thing into consideration. Because we are having the executive, we are having the legislature and the judiciary. They are supposed to work into collaboration and not trying to listen only to the executive. Meanwhile, all of the powers are confided on the judiciary in our country. Because our constitution tells us that it is the National Assembly and the MPs that control governmental actions. But today the reverse is the case, which we are experiencing.
Okay, the reverse is...
Mr. Leo, please, let me...
Very brief.
Yes, very briefly. It's not a debate that MTN has an agreement with the government and MTN pays company tax. And you know that the company tax of Cameroon is as high as 33%. That is 30% plus 3% council tax, local council tax. MTN pays that. And MTN also, this mobile money has a different agreement with the government and they still pay taxes for the transaction. It is appalling to see that these same people come back to tax the local person. I think, just adding what you said, I think it's really, really bad. I read a document that said that MTN and Orange, they are saying that the Cameroon government is owing it 70%.
No, that's not our business for this evening. Good evening to you, Ako Stanley Ebot, Godi Nakere, Mark Amos Andy, Cornel Tanwi, Claude Andor, Emmanuel Ibai, Justine Nongtu, Kalito Debrun, Didier Mosley, A1 Ivy, and to you, Chengali, the MPs, the senators accountable for this law, which is not considered nice.
Mr. Leo, when we talk things in a normal society, in an abnormal society.
Okay.
What you are saying there about Senate rising, Parliament rising, is in a normal society. Ours is not a normal society. Ours is an abnormal society. A parliament where you have 180 members, 140 members belong to a political party, tells you that it's not a parliament. A senate, you have 100 members, at least 70 members belong to a particular political party, that is not a senate. We saw a video of parliament.
That is what you are saying. I cannot on this platform say that we don't have a senate or an
we have.
Parliament.
I have not said that we don't have.
You say that's not
I said if a parliament that has 180 members
or best majority.
Yes.
Of the
out of the 180 members, 140 members in particular, there is no tussle in such a parliament. The same with a senate that has 100 members. Out of the 100 members, you have 70 king. Do not favor the masses because decrees are not countered. Decrees are not debated upon. Decrees are not criticized. A decree is an order released by a king to his subjects. It's either you submit yourself to the decree or it works against you. So if we actually say we have a system where laws are legislated, laws are debatable, laws are confronted and criticized, it would have been better. But it's rather unfortunate that we live in a society where most of our laws, they are like decrees. They don't go through any scrutiny, they don't go through any judgment, they don't go through any criticism. So it is easier for such a law to go through the parliament and pass easily, to go through the Senate and pass easily. If the political parties in the country were many, say 180 seats in the parliament, the ruling party has 70, this one has 60, this one has 50, you will realize that the tussle in the parliament would have been strong. Laws they just have access to. A law that is brought to a parliament is supposed to be fought over for at least a year. They will tell us that a new law was brought to the parliament in 2022. We are expecting the enactment of that law by 2023. But a law enters in the morning and passes in the evening. Is it statues that are sitting in the parliament or humans? That's the question. They were supposed to have debate on that law, legislate on that law, criticize that law, scrutinize that law, if at all the parliamentarians were there for the interest of their people. But a law enters in the morning. By sunset, it is enacted. While some other laws have been there for years, these same parliamentarians are there. They have not said anything about those laws.
They were not income generating laws.
Now this law, they say, declare the asset of the president is silent. This law that says they will collect tax in 24 hours. The law may swung. It don't go, please. I'm asking me the question, are we in that parliament to say or to listen? Because parliamentarians I know were called.
I said, can I give you a balance? The person said, no. Anything mobile money, I don't even believe in it. And of course, a lot of, if we want to assess how much MTN has lost between 1st of January and today, it's huge money. And that's why the Apostle Ambe said something, and I'm very okay with that, that the government may lose what they had before because they want to increase 0.2%, or they want to increase an indirect 0.4%, which is very, very dangerous. Everybody will look for an alternative, and some of us are going to go to the underbed banks where we decide to keep our monies. Yes, the moment money does not generate interest, so why should I pay a tax for keeping money and paying for a service? It's a very bad law, and if all of us do not stand, because I think this government is beginning to see that the population of this country has no say. All what we can do is to sit on TV houses and talk, and the streets are no longer safe for us, because if we go to the street, it's going to be another dangerous one. But we must rise up and stand. If not, we will keep paying. More money will keep living.
A lot of noise, meaning that there was money there. You know, something that does not attract their personal interest does not make noise. But something that attracts them, because, you know, the December session was a budgeting session, and ministers came and they allocated, this is what I need. And most of these MP, they represent a particular minister. They are fighting for the interest of a particular minister, because when they are going to go there for, for public markets, this minister will give me, so I have the right to defend him at the National Assembly. So that is why I'm saying that the December session was so hot, because it was the budgeting session, and we even saw an MP that left the parliamentaries because the person was refused access to talk. No, this is just to tell Cameroonians that the MPs we are having today do not fight for the interests of the poor population that voted them, because we cannot say that I will vote for you to go and speak for me, and at the end of the day you are doing nothing to see that I live well. You are my voice, you are my eyes, you are everything there, so you're supposed to defend me. But once we are having parliamentarians that are there to preserve their personal interest and the interest of they that sent them there, because most of them were just being, appointed and not voted. Most of these MPs at the National Assembly. And talking about the accountability, the whole at the level of the poor population, I think that it is time for Cameroonians to know that we do not have genuine parliamentarians, and we should stop, boasting about that we are having a Congress House in Cameroon. This Congress House is just there for them to do their personal businesses, fill their personal pockets, and work for their families and their generations unborn.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all panelists. The topic is interesting and the house is hot. This government is really out to kill. The common man, Mama, thank you. You've spoken my mind. Thank you, Mr. Liu, for this thrilling topic. This is writing from Kumba. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all the panelists. The effectiveness of this tax just show the kind of people that were voted as parliamentarians. Whoever thought of this kind of thing and push it where it is today doesn't have the citizens at heart. Now, most citizens pay tax irrespective of whether employed or not. Dosak Tom, writing from mile 14, Dibanda. Happy New Year to everyone in the studio. Mr. Liu, do you know that all this was planned act by the government? Do you still know that accountants and lawyers have been exempted from advising the government on tax policies? Thierry is writing from Douala. Good evening, Mr. Liu, and to all your wonderful panelists. Seriously, I don't know what our government wants us, the poor, to do. Prices of basic goods are very high in the market now. They're imposing Momo tax. How many of those top officials use mobile money except the average and poor Cameroonians? Very soon, there will be a tax on married people. Elvis Brown watching from Shell Newbell. Stephen Mwambo is still raising an issue that this could just be a ploy to enrich a handful of Cameroonians, because he's asking the instrument that is going to be used to ascertain the number of transactions that are carried out, composed, all of this. What is that parameter that is put in place to ascertain the amount, the number of transactions that are going on? And now, what if MTN at the end of the day says we carried out 50,000 transactions, whereas they carried out 1 million transactions, which means that the 4% collected from
a mechanism to make sure that all that money enters into the government coffers. The government cannot risk jeopardizing the citizens' life for multinationals to benefit. The government must have a system, and they will not disclose everything publicly. The only thing is, I have said that there are many ways to kill a rat.
Yeah, but Stephen Mwambo goes further to say that this could, at the end of the day, this money could be collected, and then some few officials from some ministries work with these companies to make use of this money. Because if you claim that almost everything that is put in place enters the government coffers, then Cameroon should be very rich.
Of course, Cameroon is very rich.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know. I know this country is stinkingly rich to the extent where the man who does not for many years, because all these express exchange, express union are transactions that came recently. There are some things we have lived with longer than what is introduced. If they want us to go back to the archaic system that will not cost us anything, it will be simple. We'll fall back to where we came from. To transfer money through individuals that are going through vehicles, they will not pay any kobo. Somebody is going to remember, I give the money in his hand, go and give. Even though there's a little bit of insecurity, but they can get through that way. So they should understand that as much as they are, how do I put it, creating more means of generating income, Cameroonians also are also thinking and creating ways on how to escape. These their new ways of generating income.
Okay.
That's why I'm saying that they should not allow greed to make them lose even the VAT that they were getting legally and freely without any complaint. They should not allow 0.2% to make them lose 19.25%.
Good evening, Mr. Liu, and this has been going on for 40 years. Who are we deceiving here, Mr. Liu? If this tax issue goes through, it is very obvious. By next year, the tax will move from 2% to 5%, so that struggle will now be to accept this 2%. The fight against this tax should be now. Tiku Felix is writing from Boya. We're going to use the last 30 minutes to look at our second topic for tonight, which has to do with the price hikes of basic commodities in our markets. The increment noticed for basic commodities has been steady, yet nobody is saying anything. What's happening?
I think what is happening is the fact that we lack a system to control the price. You know, during the December period, we got the price of perhaps oil Oil that rose from 1,100 to about 1,500. That was about 25% increase. And we also got a communique from the minister where the minister said in the various areas the people should do check and balances. But the communique was indeed very short-sighted because it did not tell us how much should be expected. You know, every economy have the consumer protection unit. People were involved in consumerism, but unfortunately, we may have it. I don't know because I've never seen them acting. Because we protect consumer against price hikes. We protect consumers against consuming illicit, and then cheatings or measuring units that are not okay. But Mr. Kum, I think what is really causing this price hike is because there is that system control failure. Because we have understood that the prices of local oil, red oil, palm oil has increased, which technically will increase the price of groundnut oil. It is for the government to look at ways to see how they can bring back the balance. Because what is happening is that our salaries are not increasing. The income level is not increasing, but the prices are not increasing. Remember, a minister once defended the basic salary of a Cameroonian at 37,000 francs, and even went further to give the analysis on how somebody can comfortably live with a family for 37,000 francs and some few francs. But the prices of basic commodities are increasing and nobody is saying anything. We must rise up. Normally in moments like December, it is normal because demand normally exceeds supply and prices will increase. But we need a control system, we need a price control mechanism, and we need the consumer protection unit to talk against this, Mr. Leo.
Yes. How bad is the situation in the market? You go to the market constantly.
Yes, Mr. Kum. Recently, I worked on a project on, the increase of prices on basic commodities, and we wrote to, the GCAM, we wrote to the National Assembly, and we wrote to the Ministry of Commerce. The minister had responded to us. The GCAM actually and the National Assembly responded. So we had a session of work with the Minister of Commerce, and he said it is because of the COVID-19 that has caused a lot of prices that has increased in the market. We recently saw the discourse of the president. He spoke about the COVID-19 that has caused a lot of difficulties in the transaction of import and export of goods and the production. So he later on said that he's going to reduce 80% on the freight maritime prices of importation of goods. And later he still said that he's trying to encourage the home production. Now we can see that basic commodities in Cameroon have greatly increased because of the COVID-19. But the problem is we do not have the syndicate of consumers and the syndicate of price control that work in collaboration. Because, Mr. Kum, it is very, very important for us to know these things. We have something we call the black market. You can just have a good and that at this period this good will be highly demanded, and you keep this goods at your entrepot, and at the end of the day you sell it on prices that are not fixed by the government. It means they do not respect the mercurial prices, and this goes back to the Ministry of Commerce that has refused to work hand in hand with the syndicate of consumers to be able to fish out prices. There should be a syndicate. We are living in a country. There should be a syndicate. We are living in a legal country, and there should be a syndicate. The end of the day, they are going to call for a military transition and say, okay, we are going to organize, an election and put the person they are trying to prepare. But Cameroonians are so intelligent that we are not going to fall on that cheap trap. We're going to look for ways to survive because Cameroon right now is a jungle. Mr. Kum, I have a lot of friends who are living in the diaspora. As our consultant said, Cameroon is a very rich country, very rich. A friend came and told me that in Cameroon we have a lot of money.
They prefer coming to Cameroon to do business because there is money here. But the rate at which there is embezzlement makes the poor Cameroonian to feel that this country is the poorest country. We have everything we need for us to live so well in this country. But at the end of the day, we are the poorest. Our economy, our system, the system which has been put in place by the government has created a huge gap between the poor and the rich. And it is us, the poor people, that suffer. At the end of the day, the prices are increased. Oil has left from 1.2 to 1.5. A cup of rice has left from 100 to 150, 200 in the market. And we cannot, and we saw how the minister said we can live with 37,000 for 30 days, 31 days even, without anybody being disturbed. So it is a call for concern.
It's just allocating, apportioning prices as they deem necessary. Shouldn't there be a mechanism that actually ensures that all of these commodities are sold at the same price, given that almost every Cameroonian has the same salary range, or if they were laborers, they are paid the same if they're working for this?
Mr. Leo, I like giving reference because I've studied the length and breadth of Africa.
Okay.
When John Rawlings came to power in Ghana, there was an inflation. What he did was that, first and foremost, he began agitating for the change of the Ghana cedi to the new Ghana cedi. From there was a strong price control unit that went to the market to make sure that prices were respected according to the mercurial price stated by the government. If they go to your shop in Ghana, the mercurial price for this phone is 50,000. The government will send agents to come and price that product in your shop. The moment you put 100 francs in addition to what the government has stated as a mercurial price, your shop is shut down. That was how the Rawlings controlled inflation in Ghana and restored the Ghana cedi to a point where before John Agwekum Kufuor came to power, one Ghana cedi was equivalent to $1. What we're entering into is inflation. Number two, the government cannot be ignorant of the rises of prices of commodities because they have monopolized some commodities in Cameroon. For instance, Mayo oil. They have blocked the import of oil from Malaysia, from Indonesia. All those imported oils that came to this country that made the price of oil to be competitive in the market, for those who have done economics. If there is no competitor, somebody becomes a monopolist. The Mayo could not become a monopolist without giving the government huge amount of money to block the import of other oils in this country. So Mayo has now become the King Kong of oil. And since Mayo's raw material is palm oil, because Mayo is not granite oil, Mayo is bleached palm oil, it automatically affected the price of the raw material, red oil. So the he that does not consume Mayo is also affected because Mayo buys red oil at a very huge amount of money that he that goes to buy now competes with the price of Mayo. So from the red oil right down to the bleached Mayo palm oil, the prices increases. With that monopolistic mentality, Mayo becomes the king of the market. You go to the market, you are left with no choice. Oils like Lucy we used to have in Cameroon, they are no longer there. That came in 20-liter gallons. Oleo has disappeared out of the picture. Diamao is no longer there. Now we have that Mayo, who is the Alpha and Omega. Whether you fly to the moon or to the star and to the sun, you must drink or eat Mayo. That is monopoly. Going to the place of fish, Mr. Liu, an individual has a license to import fish in this country. You will buy at his price. Monopoly. And such things cannot occur without the aid of the government in question. Any market that does not have competitor, the consumer is the slave. We are talking economics here. They shouldn't feel as if we are blind to what is happening. The increase of prices in the market is solely the responsibility of the state. Go to Omar el-Bashir. Omar el-Bashir had maltreated Sudan for many years. But when it came to the time where prices of basic commodities like sugar, rice, flour rose up, the Sudanese took to the street. When you touch people, don't touch them in a place where their hunger will turn to anger. What is driving this increase in commodities in Cameroon is a more dangerous war than what we are facing in the Northwest and the Southwest. People can be angry for marginalization, but things can get worse when people get hungry. Because a hungry man automatically is an angry man. I think they should look into this thing and be able to treat it before things go out of hand. That is my submission. If the state officials are watching this program, they should know that the war of hunger is more dangerous than the war of gun.
Okay. Chiri, writing from Boya, says, good evening, Mr. Liu and the panel and your viewers. Happy New Year to you all. The price hikes in the market is real. Do not be deceived. The reason we don't see agitation is because the government has systematically prevented the price of flour, bread to increase, but everything is increasing. My solution is that CDC should stop producing bananas that we don't eat, but produce corn and plantains. Thank you. Good evening to you. Yes, but is that not where the problem is? We complain that we should stop importation, but you actively advocate that we don't want importation in Cameroon, yet complain when importation is
no, I think answer that question. Let me not cut you, Derick. The secret with importation is this. Price tax should increase on imported goods, while the home-based products, their tax should be dropped. Okay. When we go to the market to buy, he that came with high tax will increase the price of this phone. I will produce here with low tax, I will sell at a lower price. There we beat them in the place of price. Okay. That's what Donald Trump did to transfer all American business gurus that were stationed in China back to America. He increased the taxes of imported goods in America and dropped the taxes of home-based products.
Cameroon, the opposite.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and if you check well in Cameroon, that's what the opposite, like what Apostle is saying. You know, competition. The government should always take measures that protect her home industries, her growing industries. It is not like completely eradicating the importation of goods, because custom duties will come to increase the price. And when the price is increased, then the government tries to subsidize the home industry, and then they meet at a competitive level. It becomes now a choice of consuming home product, and consuming home products will in turn promote home industries, which will in turn create more employment, and you see that the income circulates. One thing that is so bad, if you realize why our currency will never gain value, one of the reasons is this, Mr. Leo. We have a lot of foreigners who have invested in our country. And when these people sell their goods, like the Chinese, like the French, like the Americans, they sell their goods in our own country, which we also do believe so much in those goods. They take our money back to their banks.
Capital flight.
That is dangerous. They take that money back to their banks, and when that money is kept in their banks, we do not have the equivalence of our investor in China, in USA, that will bring back this money to our country. When that money stays in their bank, it becomes useless. It loses value. And that is why our exchange rate will never, and we do not even have the control of the money of ourselves, because we are using the French, the France CFA. The French were using the French francs, but they have abandoned even the French francs and are now using euro, meaning they don't believe in what they have imposed on us. So let us try to boost. I do so much accept with the fact that importation should be reduced. Yes, it should be controlled.
If importation is reduced and the demand in Cameroon is very high, how do you meet that?
That's what we are saying, that yes, that importation should be reduced and home industry should be boosted to produce more, to meet up with the demand. There should be mass production. We have the resources. Do you know that we export raw materials and import finished goods? Whereas if we build the industries here, we will produce the finished goods and consume at a cheaper rate and even good quality.
Yeah, but is there negligence somewhere? Because we are talking about goods that are competitive, but we have goods that are clearly produced in Cameroon. Take the case of Gary. Compare how much a cup of Gary sold 3 years and what obtains today. There is rice that is produced in Cameroon. A lot of things that are produced in Cameroon, but the prices
on home production to produce at mass quantity because they do not help.
What explains this hike in
the
price of Gary?
The prices of Gary have increased, Mr. Kum, because the mechanism of production is not really favorable. They do not have the raw materials, or they do not have the possibility, the machines to produce these things at a higher rate, for mass production.
The demand is higher.
The demand is high, and then the production is low because the Cameroon government has not helped those that are producing this local Gary to produce it at a mass quantity by giving them machines and other amenities to help them produce this, because they still use the local method of grating the Gary and doing all these things, and this causes the increase in prices. That is why I will tell you that most of our economic operators, we prefer importing goods into Cameroon rather than producing in Cameroon because of the policies of Cameroon. You understand that, as the president said in his last speech, he said he's going to reduce 80% discount on the importation prices. Meanwhile, the production, the home production, and in his speech, he still said that he would prefer that the home production should be boosted.
Since there is no control units, we are in a society where I studied the Nigerian, how do I put it, mercurial price for product and for salary. There is a particular amount you cannot pay even a domestic staff. From 18,000 naira upwards, you can't pay a staff 15,000 naira. That's the standard. If you are a gate man, the least they can pay you is 18,000 naira. In Cameroon, you own a school. You are the one that decides how much you pay a teacher. There are masters teaching in primary school for 30,000 salary. Some is 40,000 salary. If there was a particular price put in place that you can never pay a teacher below this amount, I've gone to schools where teachers earn 25,000. That is because it is solely the proprietor's responsibility to decide how much to pay the teachers. That is because the society is loose. The business is not producing, they drop doing it. Maybe those who are producing Gari are not as many as those who produced it 2 years ago. Automatically, if the production has dropped, the price will increase. Because we live in a society where people are looking as the weather is fluctuating. Once they realize that there's no oil in market, they don't think twice. The next market sitting, they will just add 100. Oil on there. Even that mama who did not go to school, as soon as she studies the atmosphere and realizes that egusi is no longer in the market, she just said today na 150 for cup. You want to argue, say, egusi no para, egusi no there. She is working based on the climate. Because there is no syndicate that controls price. If actually there was,
but there's a price control. You can't say
there is a price control that is not active. Because Mr. Leo, normally those people, they are agents of the government. They are supposed to come to the market and say, how much do you sell this phone? You say 50,000. They check on the price list. Government tariff is 48,000. They arrest you there. By the time they arrest you and menace you in the presence of all the other businessmen, they will fall back the normal price, thereby giving the common man a say in the society. I used to say the court is the only place where a man can win a community, because there it is not power, it is justice.
Okay, it's justice. Good evening, Mr. Kum. Other goods that are used in producing Gari have increased, like farm products, oil, fuel, to name a few. So Cameroon is completely finished. Apostle, good evening to you. Romeo is writing from Limbe. Good evening, Mr. Liu and all the panelists. Cameroon is at the verge of inflation. We have capital flights where money is used to buy arms which we don't produce. We use them. They get spoiled and we buy again and again. Money is leaving the country. Taxes are increasing, and the other money raised from taxes is used again to buy arms, etc. The economy is unstable. Home-based industries are discouraged with the high taxes. We need to get involved in subsistence agriculture. Ambassador Mbang Eric, writing from Limbe. Good evening to you. from Limbede. Hi, this country is super rich, but I have said it severally. All my people in Wabane subdivision need is the road which shall supply them with oil palm, cocoa, plantains, cocoa yams, cassava, and citrus. Right. John is writing. Very good evening to you, John. Good evening, Mr. Leo. It's Nyingcha writing from Amanda. Mr. Liu, a tax is normally allocated to a transaction making profits like a companies and people earning salaries. Mobile wallet is a means of transferring money. There is no one who makes profit with mobile money. If you keep the money in bank, it will make a profit. The bank will work on it, but no one will feel bad because you made gains as people borrowed it on paying.
The government price control syndicate should go to work. Secondly, Cameroon is having its trend in the field of agriculture, and we don't see any reason why agricultural products should be skyrocketing. There is a need to boost the farm to market routes. There is a need to motivate the local producers, and of course encourage them by fixing the prices for goods and services to be sold. We should not only hear the government talking about prices should not increase, we should also get them state. There should be a list. In fact, there should be a website. What stops Cameroonians to have the government of having a website where they can quarterly update the prices of goods and services and how they should be sold? If we want to really grow, Mr. Leo, I think those few points should be taken so that the local man does not keep having increase in prices and salary is looking at people like Mount Zion that cannot be moved.
Okay. Do we also need to increase our local production so as to satisfy the growing demands?
Yes, Mr. Kum, I think that we should stop the exportation of our raw materials and boost our local production. The Cameroon government should look for policies that are flexible to help the home production companies to be able to produce in a mass quantity. Because when demand is high, prices will normally increase. But when there is a mass production and the production process has been reduced with the help that could be allocated by the government to small and medium-sized enterprises, it will help boost our local production and hence prices will be flexible. And thirdly, I think that there should be a competition, like our co-panelist, the consultant said, there should be competition in our markets, because today, like, you know, in the fishing importation, we have one person that has monopolized the market, same as rice, same as oil. There should be flexible policies to help competition, like the reduction of prices or of taxes on local production and the increasement of taxes on importation products, so that mass production will be allocated on our local commodities, and hence we're going to consume our local products in Cameroon. I think that the government should implement flexible policies to help boost our local production.
Apostle Ambe, Valentine, Ngwa, how do we tame what is happening in our markets today?
Very, very simple, basic economic principles applied will solve all this wahala. The first thing is to grow an economy which particularly has a strength in agriculture. We should develop more farm to market routes.
Okay.
There are people who produce things in farms and they are unable to transport those things back home. And encourage, because the laws that apply to the Ministry of Agriculture in this country is one of the most flexible laws that permits the importation of agricultural machines. Other areas is very difficult, but when it comes to the agricultural laws in the country, there is a flexibility in that sector. So we should allow the import of agricultural machines. The third, we must industrialize our agriculture. Industrialize it in such a way that we can do mass production. I used to see how Chinese people farm rice. The way they harvest rice, the way we harvest rice here, Chinese people can harvest tons of rice in hours, while we can take almost a year to harvest kilograms of rice. because why our agriculture is not industrialized. Number 4, we must understand that our strength is not in petrol like Nigeria. Our strength is not in diamond like Botswana. Our strength is not in uranium like Niger. Our strength is not in copper like Zambia. Our strength is not in bauxite like Angola. Our farmers come with different kinds of agri products.
Okay.
It is the best that wins the agricultural show. Let's take our best to the market. It's agriculture.
Okay, we have come to the end of today's edition of the program. I want to say thank you to you, Song, for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for the confidence. Thank you to the million viewers of my Media Prime. I want to say that the mobile money tax is theft, and it is an organized theft, and we must end it. I'm inviting everybody to go to their social media handle. Let's end mobile money tax, because it is organized theft by the government, catalyzed by MTN company.
That is Song Derick saying we take exception from our platform to asking people to do that. Yes, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kum. It was a pleasure you inviting me on your TV platform. I want to tell the Cameroon government that they should implicate the Cameroon diaspora, because if Cameroon needs money, I believe that the Cameroon diaspora, which is a primordial force, can be able to contribute all the money they need. They should stop pestering the poor Cameroonians with their 0.2 taxation on the, any transaction on money, because Cameroonians are having a lot of problems right now. They should be able to implicate our diaspora, and hence I call upon the National Assembly that has a role or the sole responsibility to adopt laws, vote laws, and speak for the poor Cameroonians, for them to reverse or to see to amend the law of the 11th of June 1968 that speaks of dual nationality. Because when we look at other countries like Ghana, Ivory Coast, that have accepted the dual nationality, they have evolved, because we know that the diaspora is a force. So stealing money from us indirectly using the taxes will not help. You should call upon the diaspora to come and help us and contribute the money we might need to develop our country. Thank you.
Are the bed sheets available?
Yeah.
We'll advertise them next week.
Next week.
Okay. Thank you too for coming, Apostle and Valentine, Ngwa.
It's always a joy to be here, Mr. Leo. We are here to educate and help build our country, Cameroon. Take what we say and help build this country. Don't fight us.
Okay. We also are very grateful to you, Dr. Tata, for taking part in this edition of the program from Yaoundé. Thank you to you, Desmond, and to you, Eli, for producing the program, not forgetting you, Tabit and Bryant, who is supervising the work we do out here. We're so grateful to all of you who took time off to watch this edition of the program. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.